welcome to Generación Latina. Your host here, Carolina Peña. Tonight's show is one that I think will compel many of us to better understand our neighbors, our fellow students, our fellow co-workers. It's a story that is shared by many students and many young Latinos here in Montgomery County. It's about students that have come here following their parents, obeying them, coming to this country, and coming to a point where they're ready to move on with their educational careers, and their opportunities are very limited because they're undocumented. Stories like these have helped us to better understand not only our legal system and its flaws, but also just the reality that our neighbors have. And it's one that we should better understand. But if you are a student in that circumstance right now, I hope that tonight's show will inspire you a little bit. Because I am very thrilled to not only talk about a story that is very well known by many of you, but one that has gone on to a bigger screen than this one. We're going to talk about a documentary made here by Montgomery College students in Montgomery County, and a story that I think will inspire a lot of us. Katya, very nice to meet you. Only a few weeks ago, and I am so thrilled to see you here on Generación Latina. Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Katya, tell me a little bit more about you, just so that our audience, our young Latinos that are watching, get to know you a little bit better, where you're from, and what brings you here.
Well, I was born in El Salvador. I came to this country when I was 13 with my mother, and went to middle school, high school, and then to college. And right when I'm ready to move from a two-year college to a four-year college, that's when I got stuck. So that's what I'm struggling with. And like you said, a lot of people are in the same situation, but many times they don't know what to do, or they feel discouraged. And I was lucky enough to have a lot of people that supported me. And in the summer, I had one of my friends approach me, and she was like, I'm making a documentary. This is what it's about. Are you interested? And that's how it began.
And that's how it all started.
Yeah.
So the great thing was that all I heard was, hey, there's a documentary showing in Silver Spring. There's students from Montgomery College that have done this. I'm like, this is great. Not that many college students are shooting documentaries every day. So my curiosity was definitely piqued. And that's when I got to know you, not even in person, but really on the big screen. And your story, like I said, is very common. Sadly, it's common because there's a lot of young people in that same situation that have, come here. They don't know what to do. It wasn't even their will to be here and to be stuck in a immigration system that will not let them move forward with their dreams.
Exactly.
So that's kind of your situation. But before I even get there, I want to understand sort of like growing up, like how was life for you? Did you know this early on, or was this something that kind of came to a point when you turned 18, or how did this work?
Well, I guess I came to the country when I was a teenager, 13.
Okay. Was it culture shock at first?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I didn't speak the language. I only spoke Spanish. School was a big deal. I got to middle school and it was like, this is not what I'm used to.
Yeah.
I met a lot of family that I didn't know. It was literally another life for me. And I guess at some point as a kid, I didn't really know what undocumented was. I didn't really realize that, I was that.
Because for all you know, you're just following
my mom.
Your mom?
Yeah.
Like, you haven't done anything wrong. You've been a good girl. You've obeyed your parents. That's what we're supposed to do when you're young, right? So at what point did you feel like you were kind of in the shadow?
When I was in high school. I guess the transition from middle school to high school, that it's different. When you're in middle school, it's all about just getting out of that teenagehood thing. But once you transition to high school, it's the pressure of having the seniors talk about, oh, I'm going to this college in Colorado, or New York, or anything else.
So you felt a lot of pressure about where you were going to go to school.
Exactly. All the friends, all the peers are where you're going to school, And I think that that's when it hit me, and then that's when I started to see the label in my forehead, and I started to tell myself, it looks like I'm different.
Because you did not have the same opportunities that they could have.
Exactly.
How were your grades in high school?
They were good. I was in the honor roll the whole time that I was in the country. From middle school to high school, that's the only thing I did.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you kind of always were aiming for a lot more.
Exactly.
You didn't settle for the easy way out.
I never did.
Okay. What high school did you graduate from?
I graduated from Montgomery Blair High School.
From Blair. Okay. And did you have an idea of what you wanted to study at the time?
I actually did. And the reason for that is that the same organization that made the documentary was part of my life when I was 17. So I found them out, and then I started doing after-school activities with them, and we started doing a lot of small documentaries, not too big. And that's how the passion for TV and communication started.
That's exactly right. And this show couldn't really happen if it weren't for them. And so we can definitely talk about, it's the Gandhi Brigade,
yeah,
right?
Gandhi Brigade.
And students from Montgomery County can get involved, or is it only Blair?
No, students
from everywhere.
From everywhere can join it.
Students that are interested in what kind of things?
There's not really like a label for a student to be part of it. There's a lot of students that are interested in art, graphics, video, photos. It doesn't really have to be media related. I guess people go there because they meet friends, they have events to go to, but it's always fun to go to an event where there's a lot of pictures because someone made a project, or like this documentary where everyone, the people from Gandhi Brigade got together and they told friends, they told co-workers and so on, and then everyone came together, as you saw at night. It was really big.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay, right. So then this isn't something you kind of just did on your own.
No.
You've had the support of your peers, people that you've been, kind of supporting, working with for several years, and that, in a sense, we're kind of like your family.
Yeah, pretty much. You can say that.
Kind of. Okay. And that is a really important point to make, is that, while Latino families are very, very close-knit, I think one of the things that helps us succeed so much here in the United States is that we have a greater support group, right? And yeah, it's a very competitive environment that we're in, especially here in Montgomery County. Like, you see kids, wanting to go to Harvard and Georgetown, but at the same time, like, the only, one of the best ways to aim for more is to get the support of others. And you've done that. Like, you've done such a great job at that, because, like, you dream big, I actually want to know a little bit more about what you envisioned for yourself when you were in high school, and sort of where you are now, and talk about those limitations. I know it's hard for people to talk about them, but the way that you've put yourself out there is very courageous of you. So I want to talk about that. But what I was saying, in a sense, is that I think there's a lot of support for young Latinos here, and Gandhi Brigade is one avenue of so many others. And you've done that. You started early on, and here you are, like, a college student, having been featured as, like, the main person in the documentary that you initiated, kind of. So tell me a little bit more about sort of where you were. You're a high school student about to graduate, and if you had kind of all the doors open, available for you, where would you have knocked? Which doors would you have knocked? What did you dream of doing?
If I could have gone to another college.
Anywhere. And money wasn't an issue.
Oh my God. I was actually aiming for American University.
Okay.
I heard a lot about it, and I heard that they had a good program for communication, so that was one of the ones that I was like, oh, looks like that's it.
Yep.
But then it hit me, and then I realized, okay, that's not really possible at the moment. Then I started looking at College Park, University of Maryland College Park. But other than that, I didn't really go outside that boundaries of, outside of Maryland. I knew it wasn't realistic, so.
Did you want to stay in Maryland because those were the school, or the area, because those were the schools that you were interested in, or was, family, culture ever play a part in this decision? Because I know it can be for many
Well,
students?
I think it's actually interesting growing up here and seeing my friends or some cousins that were born here. I think that to me it's funny to watch them, grow in this society that they just can't wait to get out of high school and just go away. And in my case, it's like I already did that. I did that in a lot of ways. I left my country, left my family, left my school, left everything, and it just took off. And I think that my transition was already moving away, going to another country, so I think I already had accomplished that.
Wow.
So it was never in my head to get outside of Maryland or go to California if I could. Even if I could, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have. I had a strong boundary to my mother, and I just didn't feel like it was going to be right to just, break away. I felt like I had done more than that. And I was younger, so that wasn't needed.
It makes sense. I think it makes sense. I think a lot of students can relate to that. Tell me then, now you realize you can't really go for American University. So what options do you have at that point?
I didn't really have a lot of choices. I was not even ready to go to college. I said, all right, well, this is it. And then...
So you felt like that was it? Like you were going to you were going to have your high school degree and...
Whatever came, whatever came my way at that point. And then that summer when I graduated, in June, that summer of 2009, everything just came to place. I had applied to so many scholarships around May of that year and never really hoped to get anything. I just did it because it felt right to do it. Like, it was better to say I did it instead of I should have. So I did, and I guess I wasn't expecting anything. And then around July, I started getting, these letters saying, by the way, congratulations. And I was like, what?
Wow.
So, when I decided that Montgomery College might be the best option, I decided to apply to this group called Montgomery Scholars. And I heard a lot about them, and I got really excited to apply for it. And I went to, I think it was the orientation for it, where they explain to you what the whole program is about.
And I can't help but hide it. I'm like, yay, go Scholars, because I graduated from the program. So hey, that was an excellent move.
Yeah. So that was like, I guess, my inspiration to apply to Montgomery College.
And they gave you the school gave you a scholarship.
Yeah.
You ended up going on a scholarship.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
Excellent.
Well, I didn't really become part of Montgomery Scholars, but I made the first cut, and by the second cut, they told me I was not, unfortunately, accepted, and then they were like, all right, you're not part of the program, but we're offering you a whole year tuition paid. Is this something that interests you? And I was like,
yeah,
of course. So I think that was what led me to go to college. I wouldn't have gone to college otherwise. And then other scholarships started to appear out of nowhere. And then I got $6,000 or like $2,000 or scholarships that I applied to, and I didn't really have faith in them at all. I applied to, it was the National Association of Hispanic Journalists.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a shocker. It was like a whole country scholarship
great.
thing. And
yeah,
it was like,
that's a national scholarship.
Yeah.
Well, it's been years since then, but I still congratulate you because maybe you didn't really believe that you would get them, but there you were. You were giving yourself a chance, and you won these scholarships. And I don't think many students realize that even if they tried, they would have a chance.
Exactly.
You think your story maybe is not good enough, or you didn't write a good enough essay, or your grades aren't where they should be, but you don't know who's reading this. You don't know if they actually will click with you in some way, shape, or form, and then maybe even choose to give you a scholarship. And look at that, you won a lot of money. Like that's congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to continue talking about this and also about the documentary, which is very good. It's done by students. It's not, this isn't Oscar Sundance Festival material, but it's your story.
Exactly.
And it tells something that, a message that is very important to you. And I think that many students and many parents and educators here in the county should become aware of it. So we'll be right back. And in the meantime, don't forget, you can always check us out at generacionlatina.org.
Mom, I'm not gonna go to college.
What are you saying? You've got to go to college.
Well, they offered me a job, and...
Son, college is much more important.
No.
Yes.
No, Mom.
Yes.
Anyways, it's my decision.
Okay, well then decide what degree you're going to get, because you will go to college.
Their tomorrow depends on your words today. The Hispanic Scholarship Fund has the information you need to help your kids go to college.
Thanks for staying with us here on Generación Latina. And as we were talking, we have here the one student that was featured, her story that was the core of the rights of the butterflies. It's a new documentary produced here in Montgomery County by Montgomery College students. And we have Katya continuing to tell us more of her story and what compelled you to do the documentary. And as we were talking, you're sharing about your story. You're an undocumented student. You came to this country not of your own will, but here you are, excellent grades, graduated from school, got tons of scholarships. Now you've gone through your first 2 years at Montgomery College, and where do you go now? And it is now when you sort of you took the initiative to tell your story. Why did you want to do this? Why not start a campaign or some other kind of way to sort of get support for what you're doing, for getting into school, whatever it is? And what do you hope to accomplish with your story getting in the documentary?
Actually, I wasn't really expecting anything from this. It just happened. I was contacted by Laura Moya, which is the producer of the film.
And Laura is also a student at Montgomery College?
Yeah, we went to school together.
Oh, great.
We graduated the same year from Blair. And it just played out funny. She called me in the summer, and she told me what she was doing, and she was partnering up with the Gandhi Brigade again to make a documentary in the summer. And she told me what it was about and if I was interested. And at first I was like, I don't know what this is about. Like, she told me about it, but I don't know, something about it didn't speak to me. It's you're coming out, you're being public, and it's like, I don't know.
Going from the shadow to the light, and not just
Exactly.
the light of people who know you, but complete strangers. You don't know who's watching.
Exactly.
You don't know if they're going to be against you. So why did you feel like you could do this and want to do this?
That same week when she contacted me, I received a message from one of my mentors. She's no longer in the country. She's in Canada, but she always keeps in touch with me. And I guess she read the newspaper that day, and I think it was the New York Post. Yeah. And she sent me the link to this article about this guy named Jose Antonio Vargas, and he was undocumented himself. And he came out, he wrote an article.
Well, not only that, he's a Pulitzer-winning journalist that's written for the Post. And
at the time I didn't know. I mean, I was just reading.
You're just reading a story that you could relate to.
Exactly, and I read it. It was really long. It was too long. It took me like 20 minutes to finish it. But I was ignorant. I was just like, all right, let's just check this out. And I started reading. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was like a Saturday morning. I was alone, and I started reading. And like the first paragraph just like hit me. Like, what is this? And I started reading. And as I was finishing the story, I started to cry. That guy just said stuff that no one had ever said to me, because those were the things that I told myself all the time. At least that's what I told myself when I was growing up. And I felt like he was just going inside my head and saying
what
exactly.
kind of things?
Like, I feel like I have a label in my forehead, and every time someone looks at me, they're looking at that label that says undocumented, and it was like, whoa, where did you get that from? I used to say that to myself. I still do sometimes. Or, he was explaining how he came to the country and how he went all the way. He went to school, he went to college, and he started working in the newspapers being undocumented. And no one ever knew about his identity. That was the secret that he kept all the way. And it just inspired me, because I also wanted to be a journalist. I still do. So it was like, he's undocumented, and he's doing exactly what I want to do. So this is really emotional, and it just spoke to me. And then I guess after reading that, I felt like he tagged me, because he was inspired by other people, and he inspired me. So
he tagged you, like he lit a little flame.
He lit a little flame on me, and then I guess it was, I don't know, something about it spoke to me, and then I said, maybe this is meant to happen. She tells me about the project. Then I read this, and then I feel so emotional, and it's like, I have to do this, you know?
Yeah.
So then I called her, and then I was like, all right,
You wanted to
I'm
tell
on
your
it.
story.
yeah. That's how it happened.
Great. I think that story, you know, and if you haven't heard of that story of Jose Antonio Vargas, read it. It is
Emotional.
It
and
is
touching.
powerful. It moves you. It moved you
Oh,
to
God, yeah.
action in ways that it doesn't, most people. And you became very, very public with who you were and with the thing that you hid the most about you. So for you to be able to do that, you know, it took something. I think I was going to ask you actually, what is the most defining experience you've had that makes you who you are today?
I think that it was the premiere of the movie.
The premiere?
You know, when, I don't know if you remember, but when it ended, everyone started clapping, and I was on the front row, and I was like, is this really happening? Like, I just got flashbacks of when I called her. I'm like, I'm doing this. Like,
Wow.
let's do this. And then, you know, people following me with cameras, and then, whoa, I'm sitting here, and everyone's clapping, and they just watched this, and it was
Your
like,
entire story. Yeah.
so
That's great. That's great. It was kind of, it brought it all
Yeah.
together for you.
it was hard not to, you know, take tears out because it was too emotional.
But here's the thing. I think that it's all great. You know, we all celebrate with you. But what I don't want us to miss is the point that, you know, with what you're doing, you know, with coming out and yeah, telling the world you are undocumented. But at the same time, you're just like everybody else. Here you are in this country, just like other students, you know, trying to get good grades, trying to go to school, and you're stuck because of something you didn't do. Is that really fair? You know, that's there's a lot of questions around this issue, and I think it should get us all to really think deeply about that. You know, what do we value in the people that come to this country? You know, is it their labor, or is it, you know, or is it more than that? You know, is it their capacity to contribute? You know, to give us more, to make this country better, and are we going to limit that? I mean, there's a lot of important questions that we do need to consider, and I think you do an excellent job in just simply doing your part. And the fact that you took initiative, I mean, tell me, like, you're going to graduate, and yeah, it's going to be difficult, but what employer won't want to hire you for being a leader among your peers and wanting to do something of this magnitude, right?
Exactly.
It takes a lot, and I think that's really inspiring. It inspired me, you know. I don't think I've done anything that courageous. Yet, you know, here you are, like, you're just sharing your story, and yet you've done it, you know, with the support of your network, and you're able to maybe even raise money for your school, for you to finish your studies, which I think is really important. And you know, there's a way to do that. generacionlatina.org, and if you want to help Katya, I'm sure we'll manage a way to, you know, support you as well.
Thank you.
So I do want to commend you for that, because I think there's a lot of students that just seem like, you know, they feel like this is the end. They're going to graduate high school and they have nowhere to go. That is not true. I mean, that is just not true.
Exactly.
It's harder, you know, but yeah, at the same time, it's harder for everybody in this economy. I feel like somebody with a master's degree is having a really hard time finding a job. So we have to work all the harder, and that's okay, you know. I think it's making us all better, you know, for it. Nothing that is good is going to be easy to get to, right? So one thing that I wanted to discuss with you is, what would you say, you know, so you've gone through the 2 years of college, you've got 2 more to go, okay? Your dream is kind of still alive. How is it for you, though, like, on a day-to-day basis? Is it, like, what keeps you motivated to keep going? You know, seeing that you have a really big block, and you don't know when the light at the end of the tunnel is going to come. You don't know if that's going to be when they pass legislation here in Maryland. You know, obviously the DREAM Act, there's still a lot of, there's some stuff here in the limbo where we don't know, you know, the referendum, is it going to go up for votes, you know, all of that. But kind of what keeps you, your own, you know, day-to-day going?
I think that it's the same thing. I left everything, and it's not really fair to just give up in a minute of weakness. I think that the moment that I left my country, at the age of 13, I was very young. As I was looking back, I told myself, I'm not going to come back here until I'm done what I'm supposed to do. And even as a kid, I just made that promise to myself, and I said I'm giving up everything, and I'm leaving with my mom, and I can't go to a place and not work hard for it. So that's why I started doing good in school. I mean, I've always done good in school my whole life. I was always the A student back home too. But coming here was 10 times harder. I didn't know the language.
Right.
I was an ESOL student for 3 years. It was just struggle after struggle, but finally I got out of ESOL, and then that label got erased, you know. So I think that what inspires me is just my country and where I come from. And at the same time, I started to feel bad because I was not home. But then I told myself, I'm not growing up there for a reason. I'm growing here for a reason. And I stopped being Salvadorian. I started being Latina, and I think that's a great thing. And not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah.
So I think that's what motivates me.
Yeah. You realize what's before you. You realize
Exactly.
all the opportunities you have. Yeah, there's limitations, but you know, you're doing so. You know, you have so much more ahead of you than you would if you would be in your country.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, that's the reality for the majority of us that are here in this country, right? It's why we come.
Exactly.
Why it's for a reason our parents brought us. So let's kind of make the most out of that. Let's value their sacrifice. And you've done an excellent job.
Thank you.
Katya, I want to thank you so much for your time today. I want to also give you the opportunity to thank someone or maybe a few people that, you know, you can thank them for where you are today.
Well, I will thank Gandhi Brigade.
The Gandhi Brigade,
Yes,
of course.
Of course, they were my inspiration when I was 17, and then I was like, this is it. This is my career. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but this is, you know, I just loved everything about it. The cameras and everything. It's just
They've been kind of like your platform.
Exactly.
Like the springboard from where you've shot off into your career interests and the support you've gotten. I think you're right. They deserve a lot of recognition.
Yeah, exactly. And also to Laura Moya, which is the producer.
Laura, we missed you today.
I mean, she was the one that came up with the whole idea. I mean, I was just there. I told her the other day I was just there at the right time, at the right place. But pretty much it all played out in her head. She was once in the same position, and she understood exactly what that felt like. So she was the one that put the whole thing together. I mean, I was just acting. So she made this whole thing happen too.
And you were not acting.
Oh,
this was your real story.
You know what I mean.
Yeah. You were role-playing yourself. Well, again, thank you so much. Thank you for being the voice of many students that won't come out and some that will come out because of stories like yours and like the journalists that inspired you. Obviously, you can get to know a lot more about the story. You can actually see the trailer on generacionlatina.org. And like I said, if you want to support Katya, there's an opportunity there as well. So please stay with us. Stay with us next week. And don't forget to also check us out on Facebook. And, you know, if you have any ideas, we're always welcome. We want to hear from you. We want to know what's going on in your school, in your community. If you have a story to share, I'm all ears. Ya regresamos la próxima. Thank you so much for staying with us. And have a great, great rest of the year.